What's up, Mad World? It's me, Coach Sess, and want to get some quick shots in real quick. Talk to you about some things that are shaking up in the world of mixed martial arts, and definitely some things that impact us over here on the East Coast, and more specifically the Southeast region. So there are a couple shows on the East Coast that caught my attention. One in the North, one in the South, and it's Cage Titans 54 coming up July 2nd, and X MMA coming up July 23rd. And what's catching my attention is something that I talked about a year ago. About you're going to see a point where you're going to see a lot of well skilled, well qualified fighters who compete in the higher organizations, PFL, Bellator, UFC, won championships. You're going to see these guys return back to their regional or local level. The reason you're seeing this return is because those guys were young when they started. To put it into contrast, Tank Abbott was about 2 days before his 30th birthday when he competed in his first UFC. 2 days before his 30th birthday. A lot of these guys at age 30 now have 10, 15 fights as an amateur career, or even as many as 40 fights collectively, pro and am, by the time they're 30. You're seeing it a lot more. And keep in mind that, some of the guys I'm going to talk about, like Keith Rockstar Richardson and Dewan Owens, who are from our region, have 40 plus fights, between both of their careers, pro and am. All right. But combined, that's close to 80 fights or more. And the point I'm making is that Tank Abbott only had like that one, and when he finished, he had 20, I think he had 25 fights by the time he retired from fighting and went into pro wrestling. So to keep that in mind, that our guys are becoming more skilled, more qualified. They fought higher level competition. They fought guys who prepared more adequately. The coaches out there are skilled at studying tape, making game plans, coming up with preparation training formats. And the other thing is that they're more specific MMA gyms now. They're gyms that qualify as MMA gyms. They focus on that aspect of the game. They're no longer the boxing gym that adds a little bit of wrestling. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of gyms that have a lot of crossover that do a lot of things, but when they get ready to prepare for MMA, they know how to do it. And I'm not here to name off all the gyms. That's for a later time. But I do want to talk about Cage Titans and X MMA, just to give you an idea that actually I'm going to limit it to, because I want to do X MMA a little bit separately. Cage Titans. Right off the top of the card, you've got Joey Giannetti taking on Nathan Williams, Dewan Owens taking on Peter Barrett, and right there, the top two is very important. And then the featured fight, third from the top, is Spencer Higa taking on Zach Dispatino. Those three fights are super important, and I'm going to break it down for you. So, Joey Giannetti has headlined for Cage Titans on several occasions. So we know he's a draw. He's the main figurehead in that organization. He's the guy that puts booties in the seat. He's important in this matrix. Then Williams has headlined Cage Titans before. I forget who he fought, but he was a headline on that show, and he beat the guy. He was brought in to be the opponent, and he beat the guy. Now, Williams has experience in PFL. Giannetti has experiences in LFA. And all of these fights you could probably find online somewhere, whether it be through a streaming service or YouTube. And that's my point, is that these guys have names. They have name recognition. They're out there. Yeah, they may not be winning the big gold belt recognized with the big companies, but they are making names for themselves. And then you have Dewan Owens, and this is what makes this card so interesting. Dewan Owens is, in the co-main taking on Peter Barrett. Barrett has had 2 fights with the UFC, and he won an additional fight on the Contender Series. This is important because, like I said, you're seeing these guys return back to their regional levels. The skill level is going to go up. The skill level is going to be better. The fights are going to be better. Dewan has not made it to, the big three, the big four, however you want to look at it. But he has fought overseas. He's fought in shows. He's fought against a lot of big names who have made it to the UFC, and he's even beaten some of them, but just outside of the UFC. So Dewan has a lot of credibility, and you can look forward to this show really being a really, really, really good show on July 2nd. And Zach Despotino taking on Spencer Higa. These guys have fought Barrett, and they're the third fight from the top. I've watched these guys fight. They're pretty interesting as well. Higa has a lot of power. Despotino, of the 6 guys I just named, Despotino seems like he's the youngest in terms of skill. Let me put it this way. In terms of his record, he doesn't have a lot of fights yet, but he is a pro. And whereas the other guys, they're really up there with 20 plus fights. But Despotino is probably right now the best skilled fighter, but he hasn't put the package together yet, not overall. But this is why these 3 fights are important. Dewan Owens has already beaten Giannetti by decision, but yet Giannetti is the hometown guy. Nathan Williams has already headlined the main event, and Peter Barrett is another baby face of that organization. If Giannetti defeats Williams and Dewan Owens defeats Barrett, you've got a rematch in the making. You've got a rematch right there, because like I said, Giannetti is the guy that puts booties in the seats, and Dewan upset him already. And all it takes is for both guys to win, and you're going to have an incredible rematch for the very next show, especially if they can do it in a way that's spectacular. And also because Dewan is taking on Barrett, who's the other babyface of that company, so they're going to want revenge. If Dewan has already beaten Giannetti and then he beats Barrett, oh yeah, they're going to want some revenge, and Dewan's going to be sitting pretty to headline the next show after that, or maybe the next 2. It depends on what they already have in the mill shaking up already. But the beautiful part is if Nathan Williams wins and Dewan Owens wins, then that's a fight that needs to be for a title, because they're not from the area. So the attraction is going to be that they beaten our baby faces, and now you put a title on these guys, let them have a fight. Now, if they don't want to do that fight, here's the beautiful part. That fight can still be done here in the South. Conflict MMA sounds like the perfect organization for that. Or Warfare, if Warfare comes back online, and even XMMA, if they decide to hang around and do more shows here in South Carolina, in the South Carolina area. So even if Williams and Dewan Owens should pick up wins, you still have a viable fight, but you got to put a title on it if you're up there in the North. That's the way I'm looking at it. If Barrett should win and Giannetti win, man, again, there it is. 2 baby faces. Now, I know these guys bounce weight from 55 to 70, but that's not that big of a swing if these guys are already in shape. And if you make the incentive correct, these guys will bounce weights. At one point when I was working with Cage Fury bantamweight champion Damon Blackshear, he won a title with Conflict MMA. Nathan Williams challenged him to the fight, at 45. So Nathan Williams is, I think he's probably about 34 right now. He's still young. All these guys are young in the game, considering a lot of these guys have 20, 30 or more fights. That's outstanding. So it's a lot of matchmaking to be done here. And the cool part about Higa and Despotino is they will act as the filler in. So if one of these 4 guys can't make it, they're injured, then Despotino and Higa fill in as well. They've they've been close to that top before. I think Higa's been in co-mains on several occasions, and I know Despotino has actually worked as a main event for Cage Titans. So whoever matched this top tier of the card, they did an outstanding job. And or maybe I'm the only one seeing it, and this is an accident. But whatever it was, you have so much potential with these 6 fighters just from the top. And right now, I think there are only maybe 5 or 6 fights really listed. I know there's a lot of talk about other fights from the chatter going around on the internet, social media. But as far as what's officially listed, this is what I found was these 3 fights were really outstanding. It caught my attention. All of them have international competition or big league competition. So these 3 fights make a lot of sense and a lot of business sense. It's so much you can do with all of these fights right here in terms of matchups, no matter who wins. Even if guys lose, you're still going to need, let's say if there's a title on the line, you're still going to need contenders. So there's a lot you can do with these 3 guys, no matter where they go, up and down. I wouldn't even be surprised if another organization like XMMA, look at what's going on with these fighters and say, hey, maybe on our next show, we also bring these guys down, especially the ones who put up a good fight or put up a good showing, and have them take on some of the guys down here in the Dirty South, just like you're bringing Dirty South guys up there to fight. So that's the way I see this card going. It's already, top heavy, strong, and that's going to be an outstanding display of skill, in my opinion. But yeah, that's how I see this card, man. It's like I'm not even talking about like the wins and losses of this card, just the genius of the matchups and the potential that you have. You probably have about, in these 6 fights right here, if you match them up correctly, man, you easily have 4 main event fights that you can stretch out over the remaining part of this year to headline Cage Titans or any other show. Hey, look, I am Coach Sess, and you've had words with the Mad Coach.